Hi, I'm Abhishek and I'm the founder of Rara, an app that lets you easily build games entirely on your phone and then play and share them with friends. Today, what we're going to build is a classic arcade game, one of the first games, which is Space Invaders. So, you see, I have my world set up. This is my playing field, and essentially, what we need in Space Invaders is one, a character, and see, I have my avatar right here that will shoot at enemies that are approaching me from the top. So let's break this down and work on this step by step. So the first thing what I want is I want my character to be shooting. Super easy to do it. I'm actually just going to, now you see there's a shoot rule on it. This rule is to actually shoot a gun. So I can get rid of it, but I want the character to be automatically and continuously shooting. So I'm just going to go into the rule library and I'm going to choose the turret rule. I'm going to say, hey, my character should now be shooting. So when I go to play and check it, you'll see my character is now shooting. My character is a turret. As I'm running around, it is shooting. So first, I want this obviously to be a top view. So I'm going to change this to a top-down view, and I'm going to zoom out so I can get my full play area into view. Right. Now the next thing that want to do is that I'm going to just move my character somewhere down here. I don't need the ability to jump, so I'm going to delete that. And I right now when I go and play, you can see that I can actually run around anywhere. But the thing that I want to restrict movement to only be to the left and the right. So to do that, I'm going to get rid of the pre-made move rule. I'm going to create a custom move rule, and I'm just going to name this move move horizontal, maybe just um, short form over there. And I'm going to say, okay, when the input joystick is active, right? So whenever I'm holding down on the joystick, what I want to do is I want to get the X position of the joystick, right? So the X position is basically the left right position of the joystick. So I'm going to say joystick value X position, and then multiply that by however much I want my character to move, or the speed with which I want my character to move. So I'm just going to multiply by a vector, and in this vector, you see these three slots here. The first one is the x, the second is the y, the third is the z. I only want it to move along the x-axis, which is left and right. So I'm just going to say move with a speed of 5 along the x-axis, and make sure your y and z are set to 0. Wait, I tapped out of that, so let me just add back in. Okay. Now this actually doesn't do anything yet. All that it has done is it has got the x value of the joystick, multiplied that by 5 on the x vector, and it has just stored that internally in a variable. So what I want to do now is I actually want to move my player using the value that this line has created. So I'm going to go into current instance because I'm adding this rule onto the player. So the player is the current instance. I'm going to go to physics and then say move, and now you'll see this automatically generated value, which is result of 1. The reason it says result of 1 because this is the first line in the do, and it returns a certain result, and that gets stored automatically in this variable result of 1. So now I want my character to move using that vector value. Now I don't need to exit out of this. I can just actually hit the play button to test if it's doing what I want. And now you see even the character is only moving left and right. Even though I can move the joystick forward, it's only going to clamp it or restrict it to the left right axis. So great. So now we have a character which is shooting and the character that is moving on the left and the right axis. Now the character should be shooting at something, right? When we hit play, you see the camera is following my character. I actually want it to be focused on the world. So what I can do is I can go to the view option and just say follows character off, and now you'll see that it's now focused on the world. Right. So now let's give our character something to shoot at. So I'm going to go to the object library. I'm going to pick some enemy to shoot at. All right, so I'm going to pick this bunny. Kind of cute, but okay, let's just make it shoot. Make our character shoot the bunny. So I want a wave of bunnies to be coming down from the top. And the way I can do that is I can obviously go in and individually place these bunnies. But what I can also do is, let's just delete them for now. What I can also do is to place them equally spaced and on a grid is I can enable paint mode, and then I can go and I can actually just place these bunnies on the grid exactly where I want. So let me just place a row of 6, and then I can also quickly just drag and place, but that's probably too many bunnies, so I'll go in and just delete the ones that I don't want, and very quickly just lay out these enemies. Now I want all of them to be facing towards the player. I'm just going to long press on one, select this link to link all of them together, and then simply drag on the rotation to make them face down. All right, so now we have our bunnies. Now these bunnies should start attacking or invading. So the way we want that to happen is every few seconds the bunnies should progress uh, down towards the player. And the way you can do that is again create a simple custom rule on them. So let's first remove the wander rule, because the wander rule is a pre-made rule which will make the bunnies wander around. Essentially, let's see, they'll wander automatically, right? But we want them to only wander or move forward at a certain interval. So, well, actually, if you look at it right now, you have a basic Space Invaders game already built out. You could go into the wander rule, you could set the speed to be much slower, and then they would proceed towards you much more slowly. So that was really quick. But now let's kind of bump things up a bit, and actually let's try to see how we could create this using custom rules ourselves. So now I'm going to actually delete this wander behavior from the bunnies, and I'm going to add in a custom rule. So I'm going to long press on the any one of the bunnies, because this, since this rule will apply to all the instances of the bunny. So I'm going to go into custom. I'm actually going to just name this invader, since the bunnies are the invaders. And I'm going to say every 3 seconds I want the bunnies, or every some certain interval I want the bunnies to proceed downwards. So I'm saying game repeat every, I'm going to say every 3 seconds. Okay, what I want is I want to get the current instance. So now, since this rule is added on the bunny, the current instance represents the bunny on which it is added. So I'm saying get the current instance, get its position, right? And then add a certain value on the z, right? So on the z. So I'm just going to add actually a certain value here on the z, because the z is in this direction. So I'm going to add a vector which is -3 on the z to the current position of the bunny. Now this doesn't do anything, it just returns a vector value which is the position plus the vector that we added in. Now we need to apply it to the bunnies. So I'm going to say current instance physics teleport, and now you'll see that this value was stored automatically in a variable called result of 1, and I can just use that result over here. So now every 3 seconds it's going to first calculate a value which is the position of the bunny plus 3 on the z, and then it's going to move the bunny to that position. So let's quickly test this. I'm going to hit play. 1, 2, 3, and now you see the bunnies moved forward every 3 seconds. Now, of course, this is a custom move. We can start sprucing it up even more. The first thing we want to do is that, okay, when the bunnies reach the end, we should automatically die. So I'm going to add a new page to my rule by hitting this plus right here. And then I'm going to say, if any of these bunnies reaches a certain position, then I lose the game, right? So I'm just going to say current instance position z, the z position of the bunny, because the z again, as you remember, was going up and down or north south, and say less than -10. Right, so if the z position of any of the bunny is less than -10, which means they've reached the bottom of the level, then lose the game. All right, so now if I hit play, this is going to take a little while. So what I can do, and this is a good introduction to the concept of parameters, is that this number here 3 is actually hard coded in right now, right? We could easily change that into a parameter to allow us easy control over it. So I'm going to hit this icon in the top left. I'm going to create a float parameter, and I'm going to name this interval, right? And I'm going to give it a minimum max value. And then when I go into this rule, instead of using the number 3, I'm going to tap and instead say get interval. So it's going to get whatever value we set for that parameter. And now over here you see in the rule, this new parameter is interval parameter is now accessible, which I can easily just drag the slider and set to whatever value I want. So if I want the default to be 3, I could easily just change it to actually every 0.25 seconds for testing purposes. Go back and I will see very quickly the bunnies will start progressing. And you saw as it said I lost because they reached the bottom of the level. So this is like a great way to allow easy manipulation of your rules, and when you're testing things and moving back and forth, using parameters makes it very easy. I'm going to reset it back to the 3 that I want. So now you kind of have basics of this, right? I can go and now adjust my shooting abilities, maybe make the fire rate a little faster, increase the projectile speed to make the game a little easier. And now, as I'm moving around and as these bunnies are progressing, and if I want the bunnies to die in a single hit, I can simply increase the damage amount of my shooting, right? Just make it full. There we go. Now, with a single hit, the bunnies are destroyed. Now from here, you can obviously go much further. You can add custom movements so they actually zigzag side to side as they reach further down, to make it even harder for you to aim at. But now it's very easy to start adding in your own additions to this game to make it your own. One last thing that we can do is, because this is an old game and it has a retro feel, is we can actually just change the filter that we have on this world and choose perhaps a filter that is a little bit more retro. There, this one actually seems like it would work well. And once I'm done, I can just simply hit the next button and then publish the game. So if you want access to the app, the links are in the description, and don't forget to hit subscribe.